Hey everyone, it's Jill the Wandering Stamper. I hope you're having a fabulous day today. We finally have some sunshine after almost a week of rain here in Colorado, which is crazy because we're kind of in the desert, but it's been raining a lot. So I'm really happy to get outside and enjoy some sunshine after this video. Today we are going to make a triple flap fold card. I love this card because you can have so much fun with it. It's simple, but it looks really cool when it's done, and whoever receives it is going to love it. We're going to use the Cheers and Sips suite of products to make this card, and I'm also going to use the greetings and sentiments from The Right Words, which I love that stamp set. It's a great filler stamp set for those phrases and wording that we want to use on any card that we're making. So let me take a moment to turn down the camera and we'll get started on this card. Thanks for joining me today. Here's the products that we're using to make this card today. I pulled some holographic resin dots, which actually are part of the Cheers and Sips suites, or I think it's called Celebratory Suite. Celebratory Sips Suite. Woo! That's hard to say. So anyways, the holographic resin dots. And then this is the Cheers and Sips stamp set. I love this stamp set. It's a lot of fun. You can make cocktails. You can make summer drinks. You can fill the cup with whatever you want. There's ice cubes. There's patterns for the glass. It's just so much fun with it. And then the suite comes with the Glass and Gardens embossing folders. So I love that it's got two embossing folders. One is sort of a texture for a drinking glass, and I guess the other one is as well, but you could also use it on regular cards. So I love both of these because they're versatile outside of the suite. And then of course there's some great dies that go with it. I put my dies on magnet sheets and keep them in my stamp box because it's just easier in an RV to keep everything in one place, and thankfully these little dies also fit in there. So I'm able to keep it just like that. So that's how I store that. We're also using The Right Words. I love this set because it gives you thank you, it gives you birthday, it gives you just a thinking of you type thing. Remember, like if somebody passes away, a sympathy card for that, and I miss you card. So there's lots of sayings on here. So this is a really great set of stamps to have. If you make a lot of different types of cards, it's going to have some sentiments for everything. So that's a good one. Check that out. And then we're using the Celebratory Sips Designer Series paper. I said it okay that time. We're going to be using, as you can see, I've cut things out. We're going to be using this sheet here, which I love because you can place the glass and the wine goblet dies on here and cut out them, and then they look like they're full of this watercolor liquid. So I like that. And then we're going to be using this Timid Tiger striped piece, and then this we're going to also use this. I'm using it as a background, but I'm also cutting out some of the elements, just fussy cutting them to add to garnish my inside of my card. So this paper is a lot of fun. There's tons and tons of options for it. And then to create our card base, I'm trying to get these papers out of the way. To create our card base, we're using, the base is going to be cloud cover, and then the panel layers are going to be both Secret Sea and Basic White. All right, so let's get started and I'll show you how to make this card. All right, so your card base is going to be 4 1/4 by 11. So this is going to be one of those cards that opens like a flap, like bottom to top. And then we're going to flip it sideways and score it in half at 5 1/2. Okay, simple, simple. I'm going to go ahead and grab my bone folder and go ahead and give it a burnish and set that aside. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is cut the layers for the inside of the card. So we're going to grab some Secret Sea and we're going to cut that at 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm just going to cut 5 1/4. Set this aside for the rest of the card. And 4. And that is just going to sit right here on the front of the card, just like so. And then we're also going to want a piece of designer series paper to layer onto that. So you can have a lot of fun with this. You could actually emboss a piece if you wanted to. I'm going to use this. I love this design. You want to make sure if it's directional, you have it the right direction. So I want 3 7/8. Now I've cut this up into all kinds of pieces. So you see I'm cutting it upside down. I'm just doing that so I can get to the straight edge. So this is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. This is such fun paper. I love this paper. All right, and so then that is going to layer nicely with a very narrow margin on that secret C. So the secret C just kind of helps it all pop a little bit more. There's not a whole lot showing, but I think it looks so much more vivid than just simply having it on the cloud cover, so I like to do it that way. And also we're going to be attaching our 2 flip panels to that secret C, so it is kind of important in this card. All right, so now we're going to create the flaps. So we're going to grab the cloud cover. You want to use the same color as your base because then it kind of looks flawless when you attach it all together. So we're going to cut that at the first flap. The larger of the 2 flaps are going to be 3 1/2 by 3 3/4. All right, so 3 1/2, and I'm just using the other half of that sheet of paper. Now I like to cut mine the small side and then the large side. So 3 1/2 by 3 3/4, and the reason I do it in this order is because I'm then scoring that extra 1/4 inch, so I just have to move it over a 1/4 and score it. Okay, so we've got that little 1/4 inch score. So that's the large one, and it's going to go on the right side of the card, and then we're going to cut the smaller one, which is 3 by 3 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it at the 3 inch mark. And then I'm going to rotate it and cut it at the 3/4 inch mark. And then I'm going to score it at a 1/4 inch. All right, that's the method to my madness. So that is going to be the right side of the card. All right, it's a smaller flap. Now we want to create the layers for that flap. And so that we're going to grab that secret C again, and we're going to cut squares. So we're going to cut a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 square. All right, and that is going to sit right there on top of that larger flap. And then we're going to get another piece of secret C, and we're going to cut that at 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And that is going to layer onto our smaller flap, okay? So that is done with that. And then I'm going to grab that, for the larger, I'm going to show you what I did. For the larger flap, I already did it. You're going to cut, I decided to emboss a piece of basic white for my large flap on the left. So that is 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. So I just made it a tiny bit smaller than that secret C, and I embossed it with that embossing folder. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but it's super pretty. So that is going to get layered on there. And then for that smaller flap, I'm going to go back to this beautiful Timid Tiger, and I'm going to cut that piece at 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. So it's just a tad bit smaller than the other circle. So I am just... This is the beauty of that arm on your cutter, is you can just cut what you want out and leave the rest alone, because you never know what size you need for the next project. Am I right? So there we go. All right. So that is the piece for that. And then we're going to want to create 2 more panels for the inside of each of these flaps. Now you have options. You can do secret C, you can do basic white, you can do designer series paper. You can have lots of fun with this. So we're basically mimicking what we did on the first part. So we're going to cut two more of those secret C pieces. So 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. For the inside, and then we're going to do 2 and 3/4 by 2 3/4. Had to think about that. Grab another scrap. Good thing I have lots of scraps in here. Okay, so those are going to go on the inside. And then I'm going to go ahead and do basic white for the inside. Now you could do anything you want here. You could do designer series paper if you wanted to. You can do embossing. You can have lots of fun with what you do on the inside. Now, I don't have any more scrap white, so, well, I do, but nothing big enough. So we're going to grab another sheet. And so again, we're going to cut the smaller ones, and that is going to be 3 1/8 by 3 1/8 and 2 5/8 by 2 5/8, because remember, we're just doing slightly smaller. So 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. And then I believe this is a leftover from another project. So this should be, is this 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. All right. That is it for the cutting. So these are our pieces for the inside. So we're going to set those aside. So let's go ahead and grab our paper. So we've got our larger panel and our smaller flat panel. All right, the smaller goes on the right, the larger goes on the left. So let's work with the middle first. So before you do anything, you want to go ahead and glue these two together because we're going to be attaching our flaps to those. So I'm just going to use a little liquid glue here. I just filled my bottle up before you came on because it was running low, so it might blurp a little bit, but I think it's good. That's one thing I love about that glue press is you can just fill it. It holds like 2 bottles of Tombow glue, which is sold by Stampin' Up, but also you can get it in the craft store. I usually buy it from Stampin' Up because as a demonstrator I get a discount, but you know, get it wherever you can get it the best price. I sometimes find it on sale on Amazon too, so check there. But if all else fails, you can go on my website and go to my shop and purchase it there. There's a link below. All right, I'm just burnishing those 1/4 inch score marks because I want to make sure they're nice and crisp. All right, so we're going to take that piece. Let's move this out of the way. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be gluing it, and we're just going to be putting a little margin, maybe a 1/4 inch. It's really whatever you want it to be. I usually put mine about a 1/4 inch from the top, okay? And it's going to sit like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put some liquid glue down here. I love when this card is done too. It's super sturdy for some reason. It's a very sturdy card. You would think with all these flaps it'd be floppy, but it's not. It's nice and sturdy, and I like that. I just like the way it feels when it's all made. So that's good. Let's get my silicone craft sheet. Whew, I'm trying not to sweat. Having a bit of a hot flash at the moment. Yes, I'm at that age. But also, I had to shut the windows because there were people weed whacking outside. So never fails when I'm ready to do a video. There's a lot of noise outside. That's RV life, living in a campground. All right, so I'm doing the exact same thing with the smaller flap, and that smaller flap is going to go on the bottom right of the card. So again, I'm just going to give it that same amount of space as I did at the top, and I'm going to push that down, make sure it's flush, and then give it a good press. And if you lay it down on your silicone craft sheet so you don't have any glue popping out, you can give it a good press. So that's the way it's going to open. All right, so now that that's on there, we can go ahead and add glue all the way around. And glue it to our card base. So make sure your card opens this way, and you're going to go ahead and pop that right on there. Like so. So now you've got your 2 flaps. All right. So now we can start building those. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my larger 2 pieces, And I like to put all my panels on and then do my decorating. But you could also decorate these and then put them on if you want. I obviously will do my stamping before I attach it because it never fails. You stamp after you attach, you're going to mess up. So this is just a very narrow margin. So just like so. All right, and then that's going to go on the front. And since I'm not stamping it, I'm going to go ahead, put it right on there. And these squares are so easy to position things on because they're squares. They're easy. It's very easy to get that straight the first time. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing for the smaller piece. So I'm going to go ahead and glue on my square. And I guess it doesn't matter what direction. But you can kind of make sure if you have something directional, you know, you're adhering it to your card in the correct direction. This pattern would also look pretty on there. All right. Let's make sure that's straight. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and add a little more liquid glue and put this on the front. Just like so. Oh, I slid. Look at that. Blink for a second. There we go. All right, and if you get any residue, you just take your little eraser. If you don't have one of these, get one. You will use it so many times. And I've had this one for 20 years. It's the only one I've ever had. They just, once you have it, it lasts forever. Unless, I guess, you make a million mistakes. I don't know. So there is that. So now we're going to go ahead and decorate the front. You know, I didn't cut the pieces for the inside, so we'll do that in a few minutes. All right, let's just decorate the front for the moment. So before you came on, I remember I showed you these pieces here. So the cool thing is, if you take the dies, you can actually position them over this paper like this and cut them out, and so they look like they're full of whatever this liquid is. So I would say this is pink lemonade. All right, and you can do the same thing with the wine goblet or cocktail glass, whatever you feel like this is, and you can position it over and then just give it a trim. So that's a great option. You can also color them with your blends. You can use a sponge dauber, lots and lots of things. And then there's also this little die here that is shaped like the glass and gives it texture. So on my yellow piece, I went ahead and ran it through the die so it looks like the outside of the glass. And I'm probably going to brush some Wink of Stella on there, but I love the texture too. It's really cool. So we cut one of those. I just wanted to show you how that looks. And then I also cut this one, which looks like kind of like a wine glass. Okay. So then I also, let me show you all of the pieces. I fussy cut a wine bottle from that paper, and I also fussy cut a lemonade glass. So we're going to use that on the inside. And then I stamped and die cut this little wooden pick, or this little pick for my raspberries, which I also die cut 2 raspberries. So we're going to put those there. And then I colored these with blends, of course. And then I also cut a couple of the strawberries. And I colored those in with the strawberry slush and Old Olive blends. And then we've got a lemon wedge. And then I also cut this little glass out because I thought I might use it. And then I also stamped Cheers to You and Memento ink. You could also use Secret C. They're very close in color, so I just went ahead, since I had the Memento, the Tuxedo Black out, I stamped in it. And then I stamped Cheers, and then I stamped To You, and then I just fussy cut the whole thing. All right, so that's the pieces for the front. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this glass down first with some glue, but I want to attach my fruit to it. So all I'm going to do is take my scissors and give it a little trim. I'm trying to decide where I want to trim it. I'm just going to give it a little slice, and then I'm going to also do the same thing for my strawberry. Okay? So then you can just put your fruit right on your glass like that. Look how cute that is. And I'm just going to put a little dot of glue back here to hold it in place until I get it where I want it. All right, and then I'm going to also pop on my strawberry. I probably should have waited to glue that. So I'm going to pop on my strawberry right here as well. Okay, so I have my strawberry. How cute is that? I've got my strawberry and my lemon wedge on my strawberry lemonade. All right, so that is what I'm going to do there. And then for my wine glass, I'm going to go ahead and glue this little, grab my tweezers. I'm going to put a little glue on the bottom of my pick, my little wooden skewer or pick or whatever it's called. And I'm just going to put that on there about right here. Okay. And then I'm going to just add a little glue here and pop on a raspberry. And I think I'm going to add one more raspberry for fun. Right there. And you could also pop it up with a dimensional if you wanted to, but I think this is cute. Okay, so there is my little cocktails. And then we'll use this as a extra element. All right, so another thing I want to do is I'm going to grab the ice cube. This is the ice cube stamp. And I'm going to go ahead and grab some, I'm going to use Darling Duckling because it's nice and subtle, I think. And I'm going to add a couple of these to my glass, just like that. Okay, because we've got a glass of ice. We've got ice in our lemonade. So there's that. And then I'm going to close that up. And then we're going to grab some Blackberry Bliss. And I've got some scrap paper. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to stamp this off because it might be kind of bright. Yeah, that's perfect. And we're going to add a couple of ice cubes to that one. Okay. The ice cubes just make it kind of fun. All right. Close that up so it's out of the way. Okay, let's start putting this together. Now you do want to be mindful that everything's going to fit on your panel, so that just fits, which is perfect. So I'm going to glue this one down. Just like so. Okay. And then I think this one I'm going to pop on with some dimensionals. And look, I tried out this trick I've been seeing people do, and I really like it. When you have a brand new sheet of these, it's really hard to tell if you took the tabs off, so you just run a marker over it. So that way when you go to take the tabs off, it's obvious whether they're on there or not. And you know, I kept seeing it and I thought, oh, I have a brand new sheet. I'm going to try it. It's a great little tip. So whoever invented that idea, thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's see. I think we need a little one. Oh, there's my little ones. I know I have little ones out. Here they are. They were hiding. Didn't do it with this one. I should though. All right, and we need a little tiny piece. Let's cut one in half for that little pick. Oh, let's see. Is that gonna work? taking off some backing. It's really stuck. See if that fits. It does. And if you find it's just a bit too big, just take your pick tool and you can squish it around the way you need it. All right, now let me take these off. All right, now we're going to go ahead and pop this on just like so. So there's our two glasses. And then we have our cheers to you. So I think I'm going to put that there, and then I'm going to add the strawberry with it. So let's go ahead and grab a few more dimensionals. I'm going to use little ones for the middle. And then one big one. Nope, the big one's too big. Let's put a smaller one. Alright, I apologize if you hear my husband in the background. My son has just called him. Alright. So where do we want to put this? Let's go ahead and put a little glue back here. And then we'll add this here. How fun is that? All right, so that is done for there. So let's go ahead and do some stamping on the inside real quick. I'm going to go ahead and grab, so we put cheers to you on the front. So I'm going to do it's your day. On this piece. See if I can get it straight. Okay. And then while I have this out, let's go ahead and grab Let's Celebrate for the smaller one. So we kind of are telling a story on this card. Okay, that looks good. Let me close up this ink so I don't make a mess. All right, now let's go ahead and layer these on. I love how there's so many little panels that you can do things with on this card. So whoever gets it is just going to get so many surprises when they open it. I love that. All right. And you don't have to add the middle layer. You don't have to add the secret C layer. I like to because I think it looks really nice that way. But I've also done them without it and it looks good too. So it just depends on how fancy you want to be. So we're doing the same thing with the inside panel. Okay. And don't forget, you can click the link below to get all of the cutting and scoring measurements so that it's very easy to recreate this card. I'll also have all my other samples on there so you can copy those as well. So I'm going to take these extra little pieces and place them inside the card panels. It just kind of carries in that designer series paper that's in the middle. And it also carries over the little drinks that are on the front. I like that continuity. All right. You don't want to put dimensionals on the inside because they're going to make the card not close flat. So the dimensional stuff has to be on the outside. I love all these little drinks. I think they're cute. I don't drink very often anymore, but I do love a good mocktail. I do love a good cocktail. I love gin and tonic. Gin and tonic is my go-to cocktail. What's yours? But most of the time I just make a nice little mocktail. All right, so there's the inside. Let's go ahead and do the very inside flap real quick, and then we'll decorate with our embellishments. So the inside, whoa, I'm having an avalanche. The inside is very basic. Now you could just simply add a piece of basic white if you'd like, or you can go ahead and put that secret C in there. And I'm going to go ahead and just do the secret C. So it's going to be 5 1/4 by 4. Or you could do 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 if you wanted to. If you wanted to make it a little bit different. And then I'm going to grab my basic white and I'm going to do, so what did I do? 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to do 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. All right, that should work. Easy peasy. So then you're gonna again just carry that really narrow margin back over. All right, so let's go ahead and do some stamping. Remember, I grabbed the right words. So on the front it's all about celebration, so I think we're gonna make this happy birthday. So I'm gonna grab the happy birthday, and then the to someone we're celebrating every single day will be what goes along with it. I love that these have both the greeting and the sentiment. That's perfect. Get this out of the way. Okay. So let's grab that memento ink. Again, remember, you can use Secret C if you want, because that works out just fine as well. They're very similar, and you use Secret C for one of the layers, so that would be appropriate. So I'm going to try to get this straight. All right. Clean that off. And I'm going to just put the paragraph that goes with it, the little phrase that goes with it. I'm just going to do it. You could do it right here. I think I'm going to do it down here. Like that. That's fun. All right. Clean that off. Because a dirty stamp is just waiting for my elbow or my finger. All right, let's get these moved out of the way. Yeah, my fingers are messy. Now we're going to go ahead and glue this on. And you could totally add another one of those fussy cut pieces to this inside and carry those drinks on in. I'm not going to do it on this card, but you could totally do it. Or you could add some fruit. You could add a strip of the designer series paper to this on the bottom. Just so many ways you can do this card. All right. And last but not least, we're going to place this right in here. Just like so. And I'm just going to manipulate it a little and get it all straight. Look how cute that is. All right, last but not least, let's add some sparkle. So I'm going to grab these holographic resin dots, and we're going to add a few on here. So let's add one down here, and then maybe here, and here. Love it. All right. And I'm going to grab my wink of Stella, and we're going to paint on a little wink where the ice cubes are, because it's going to give it a little shimmer, Because ice cubes are kind of sparkly, right? And we'll do it over here. And I'm just brushing it on. And then I'm going to brush it on these raspberries because they're nice and juicy. And my strawberry. I always like to do this with fruit because it just makes it that much better, in my opinion. I just like that extra little bit of shimmer. And you can totally do this before you add it to the card. I did it after because then I don't have to bother with the areas that are hidden. All right, that looks good. And let's just go ahead and add a little bit here to these lemon wedges. And that looks good. All right, we're done. Let's take a look at what we created. So here's our card. Cheers to you. It's your day. Let's celebrate. And then happy birthday to someone worth celebrating every single day. I cannot wait to give this card out. All right, let me show you my other sample. This one uses the Notes and Totes suite. Look how cute this is. Now, I use that wonderful Friends of the Ocean Designer Series paper as my background. Sadly, it's retired, but it worked great with this set. So, you know, don't hesitate to get outside of the product bundles and suites and stuff and use other things. So I used that, and then I also tore my crumb cake into strips to create beach sand, and then brushed a little bit of crumb cake on the edges, and then I just took my finger and curled down the edges to make them look a little worn, and then used the little background dye to do the sand particles. And then I just added all my little pieces, and I used Poppy Parade, Calypso Coral, and Daffodil Delight to die cut all of these pieces, and I just simply stamped in black. And then those sunglasses, I filled the lenses in with the flower metallic paper that I had on, and it has little flowers on it, so it's really funky. So that's how I created the front. And then the inside, I just simply stamped "You Earned It," sending warm wishes, you earned it, and then put one strip of those background flowers. That's just one stamp right there. Use that background paper. And then inside it says "Relax and Enjoy," and I just added the hibiscus. So super simple, and as you can see, I didn't add a background. I didn't add a second layer behind the basic white. I just left it just the way it is. And this is Asia Afternoon, which I haven't used in a while. So I only used one layer here because I was already using white. And then I layered some white under here to kind of pull it all together. So that's card number 2. Now the third card is a very special card. It's for my daughter's birthday that is this month. It's actually going to be very soon. So it says "Make a Wish," and I use the Wildflower Birthday suite of products. It says "Make a Wish," which I embossed in gold and added this sweet little cake piece. And then I put this little tag, which is one of the dies in the stamp sets. I cut that out in gold and added it to the bottom. Added another slice of cake because I have all these cakes, and she's turning 33. So cannot believe I have a 33-year-old, but she's turning 33, so I put a 33 there. These number dies are also part of the suite. All of the numbers are in there, which I love because you can totally personalize a card that way for anniversaries or birthdays or baby cards, whatever. So that's the front. And then on the inside, look at this. I added that big laser cut piece on the inside, and then added "Happy Birthday" in gold with the little fringe. So how fun is that? I can't wait to give her this card. She's gonna love it. So there is my third card. There we go. That's the triple flat fold. You may have seen it, but here's some new spins on it with brand new products from the annual catalog. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you don't already. Just click on the button below to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to get notification of each of my new tutorials. And then if you need a link to the blog page, which will have all of the cutting and scoring measurements along with a list of the products that I use, just click the link below and go there. It's wanderingstamper.com/blog, There's also, you can click on the shop button and purchase any of these products that are in here. I would love to have you as one of my wonderful customers. You always get a free gift when you order from me, and I love to help my customers with any of ideas, tutorials, anything they need. So consider me if you're purchasing your products. I hope you have a fabulous day today. Make some time for yourself. If that means crafting or getting some fresh air and sunshine, do what fills your soul. This fills my soul. I will see you next week. Have a great day. Have a great week. Bye.